if he told you exactly what to do, more than likely 9 times out of 10 people wouldn't follow that because they may have bought it at the right time, but they can't mentally hold it for 70 years like Warren does. Like, he doesn't plan on selling anything ever. He just wants to get in at its rock bottom price in relation to its value.
This is the How to Trade Stocks and Options podcast, brought to you by 10MinuteStockTrader.com, where we cover finance, stocks, options, entrepreneurship, education, and money. And here's your host, voted one of the top 100 people in finance, Christopher Ewell.
Hey there, traders. Welcome back to today's How to Trade Stocks and Options podcast. Today, we have a special lesson for you. I'm putting it here on the podcast because I really believe that this is going to provide you massive, massive value. And that's what I'm trying to do here. And hey, listen, if this podcast was useful to you at all, I really highly suggest that you go check out the full trading course at AIStockTradingSystem.com. That's AIStockTradingSystem.com.
Markets are people. People are predictable. Outlier can show you how to track market fear and greed with artificial intelligence on over 1,300 of the largest market cap names. Visit outlier.com to learn more. That's OVTLYR.com. They have a free pilot program for the rest of 2021 so you can get access to right now at OVTLYR.com. That's OVTLYR.com.
Hey, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified every time we give you more tools, tips, and tricks to help you trade faster and trade smarter every single week. Hey there, traders. Welcome back to today's How to Trade Stocks and Options podcast. I have a special interview for you today. This is Warren Buffett. All you need to know about investing in 6 minutes. Now, this is going to be a commentary video because that's how YouTube allows this to work and for fair use. And so basically, Warren's going to talk, we're going to listen, and I'm going to interject my opinions on what he's talking about. And I got to say, I am not qualified whatsoever to give my opinions on what Warren Buffett says. But you know what? It makes great content. It's great to learn from Warren and talk about what he's saying here. So let's get into it here.
Hello, Mr. Buffett. I got 2 short questions. One is, how do you find intrinsic value in a company?
Well, intrinsic value is the number that if you were all-knowing about the future and could predict all the cash that a business would give you between now and Judgment Day, discounted at the proper discount rate, that number is what the intrinsic value of business is. In other words, the only reason for making an investment and laying out money now is to get more money later on, right? That's what investing is all about.
I agree with that. Investing's all about, taking $1 and trying to make it into 2 without having to actually do anything yourself, right? You're not plowing the fields. You're not running the business, you're investing in it.
Now, when you look at a stock, when you look at a bond, assuming it's the United States government, it's very easy to tell how much you're going to get back. It says it right on the bond. It says when you get the interest payments, it says when you get the principal. So it's very easy to figure out the value of a bond. It can change tomorrow if interest rates change, but the cash flows are printed on the bond. The cash flows aren't printed on a stock certificate. That's the job of the analyst, is to change that stock certificate, which represents an interest in the business, and change that into a bond and say, this is what I think is going to pay out in the future. When we buy, some new machine for Shaw to make car.
I think that's really insightful. I've never heard of that. So with a bond, you know when your interest payments are coming. With the stock, you have no idea if you're going to get any interest payments, or capital appreciation, if you want to think of it that way. But he's saying that's the analyst's job whenever they're making the research for the trade. Right, that's brilliant. I've never heard that, and I kind of agree with this title. Everything you need to know about investing in 6 minutes.
That's what we're thinking about, obviously, and you all learn that in business school. But it's the same thing for a big business. If you buy Coca-Cola today, the company is selling for about $110 to $15 billion in the market. The question is, if you had 110 or 15 billion, you wouldn't be listening to me, but I'd be listening to you incidentally. But the question is, would you lay it out today to get what the Coca-Cola company is going to deliver to you over the next 200 or 300 years? The discount rate doesn't make much difference as you get further out. And that is a question of how much cash they're going to give you. It isn't a question of, it isn't a question of how many analysts are going to recommend it, or what the volume in the stock is, or what the chart looks like, or anything. It's a question of how much cash it's going to give you. That's the only reason. It's true if you're buying a farm. It's true if you're buying an apartment house. Any financial asset, oil in the ground, you're laying out cash now to get more cash back later on. And the question is how much are you going to get, when are you going to get it, and how sure are you? And when I calculate intrinsic value of a business, when we buy businesses, and whether we're buying all of a business or a little piece of a business, I always think we're buying the whole business because that's my approach to it. I look at it and say, what will come out of this business and when? And what you really like, of course, is them to be able to use the money they earn and earn higher returns on it as you go along. I mean, right. Berkshire has never distributed anything to its shareholders, but its ability to distribute goes up as the value of the businesses we own increases. We can compound it internally, but the real question is, Berkshire selling for, we'll say, 105 or so billion now. What can we distribute from that 100? If you're going to buy the whole company for 105 billion now, can we distribute enough cash to you soon enough to make it sensible at present interest rates to lay out that cash now? And that's what it gets down to. And if you can't answer that question, you can't buy the stock. You know, you can gamble in the stock if you want to, or your neighbors can buy it. But if you don't answer that question, and I can't answer that for internet companies, for example. There are a lot of companies, there are all kinds of companies I can't answer it for, but I just stay away from those. Number two.
So you got formulas involved in finding.
I mean, we've talked about it before, but Warren focuses on what he knows, and he does not invest in anything he doesn't know. And I think that's super smart. But man, that's really insightful, right? Trying to think of the cash flows, trying to think of the return, like not just the capital appreciation, but translating it into like bond premiums, right? Translating it into getting your dividends back as the stock appreciates. I've never heard that, but it's really insightful.
Intrinsic values on certain companies. I mean, you've got a mathematical system set up.
Discount of present value of future cash, yeah.
Second short question is, why haven't you written down your set of formulas or your strategies in written form so you can share it with everyone else?
Well, I think
Because he doesn't want to share it with everyone else.
I actually have written about that. If you read the annual reports over the recent years, in fact, the most recent annual report, I use what I've just been talking about. I use the illustration of Aesop. Because here Aesop...
Well, I mean, really, at the end of the day, most people can't invest like Warren, right? Let's say he has shared his formulas. The difference in sharing a formula, I talked about this on a recent episode, the difference in sharing the formula and being successful with the formula is mental, right? If he told you exactly what to do, more than likely 9 times out of 10 people wouldn't follow that because they may have bought it at the right time, but they can't mentally hold it for 70 years like Warren does. Like, he doesn't plan on selling anything ever. He just wants to get in at its rock bottom price in relation to its value. So, I mean, he can share all he wants, but it's the psychology of what Warren does that really makes a difference.
Aesop was in 600 BC. Smart man. Wasn't smart enough to know it was 600 BC, though. I mean, would take a little foresight. But Aesop, you know, in between tortoises and hares and all these other things, he found time to write about, you know, birds. And he said, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Now, that isn't quite complete, because the question is, how sure are you that there are two in the bush? And how long do you have to wait to get them out? Now, he probably knew that, but he just didn't have time because he had all these other proverbs to write and had to get on with it. So, but he was halfway there in 600 BC. That's all there is to investing, is how many birds are in the bush, when are you going to get them out, and how sure are you? Now, if interest rates are 15%, roughly, you've got to get 2 birds out of the bush in 5 years to equal the bird in the hand. But if interest rates are 3%, and you can get 2 birds out in 20 years, it still makes sense to give up the bird in the hand, because it all gets back to discounting against an interest rate. Problem is, often you don't know, not only how many birds are in the bush, but in the case of the internet companies, there weren't any birds in the bush. But they still take the bird that you give them if they're in the hand. But I actually have written about this sort of thing, and stealing heavily from Aesop, who wrote it some 2,600 years ago.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, I love listening to Warren. He's so smart. I mean, what I do in my trading is nothing like what he does, and if he saw me trading, he would probably die. But it fits my personality, and what he does fits his personality. But most of all, he has his formulas in place, and mentally he knows what he needs to do in order to be successful. So hey, I hope you found this useful. Make sure, if you did, that you share it with someone else, and subscribe, and smash the like button too. Yeah, smash it real hard. And make sure you come back next week for more tools, tips, and tricks to help you trade faster and trade smarter. And I'll see you in the next episode. Okay, so what'd you think? That was pretty incredible, right? Now, if you like that, that's only a taste, only a sample of what you're going to find in the full AI stock trading system. And I really highly encourage you to go and check this out. Obviously, you are interested in learning and how to trade, and that's why you're listening to this podcast. Now, I'm going to take and download my entire trading system that I use day in and day out onto you. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is over at the AIStockTradingSystem.com. You're going to get phase 1, 2, and 3, several bonuses, and on top of that, I'm going to walk you through over a dozen trades that I put on inside of my account, holding your hand and showing you exactly how I got in, how I got out, how I use the artificial intelligence data, and how this could work inside of your own trading portfolio on a daily basis. So make sure you head on over to AIStockTradingSystem.com. That's AIStockTradingSystem.com to learn more and to get started and to download my decade plus worth of trading experience into your hands so you can start using the AI stock trading system today, the 5-step system to take the guesswork out of trading.
Hey, if you like this video, let me know by leaving me a like below, and then subscribe and share it with somebody you think could use it as well. Be sure to comment below with your biggest takeaway from this episode and any suggestions you have for future episodes. And finally, make sure you watch these other videos to help you trade faster and trade smarter, and I'll see you on the next episode.